Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers. I'm going to turn off this other light. I look like I have the sun on me, which is weird because I do not have the sun on me.
It's a good thing that we do an audio podcast. So,
well, there's going to be some of these video clips, and it's probably going to be the clip of me saying there's going to be video clips. So that's that's how that works.
For those of you who do follow our YouTube channel or our socials, sometimes we throw up clips of these things. So
yes,
always fun.
Especially when I say just riveting, important pieces of information that the world just has to know, and stuff and things and craziness. So, yes, I know you're very excited for the topic today. So
yes, I am on pins and needles here because this is one of my favorite subjects. One of the subjects near and dear to my heart, and our guest today, our very special guest today, is very near and dear to their heart because they spoke at a conference about this fairly recently at the Withville UFO Fest. And when I said we asked them if they would be happy to join us, they were more than willing to come on and discuss this, which makes me very, very excited.
And it's going to make X very, very mad. So without further ado, and trying to piss off our sovereign leader as much as possible, that being X, by the way, why don't we welcome our amazing guest?
Yeah, Ashley Hilt from On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. Come on in. So
thanks for having me. I'm always looking for an opportunity to talk about this topic. It has consumed my life in the best way possible.
That is
awesome. We all have that one go-to for us that brought us into this, or just has driven this, this insanity that we like to call investigative research and all that. So, oh my gosh! Well,
we're in Mark's case, fanboying. So that he's like, investigative paranormal. I'm like, who are you kidding there, dude? Like, you're just a huge fan of this topic. So. Without further ado, what is the topic, Mark?
Well, today's topic is our wonderful man from Lanulos, the man Indrid Cold. And now, Ashley, I don't want to steal any of your thunder on this, so why don't you go into your talk, and then we'll interject and as needed. But can you start off a little bit about who is this man? We've talked about him a few times on the show, so this is 101 for those that are just tuning in. So.
Sure. I've gotten pretty good at the condensed version. So in November of 1966, we had just a lowly salesman on his way home from work, Woodrow Derenberger, making his way across state lines and from Ohio. So actually, I think he's lived in Ohio at the time. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Listen, he was driving home from work, and that's the part that matters. And anyway, while he is making his way home to, from work, a spaceship, a strange looking spaceship, he described it as a kerosene lamp turned sideways, shows up. Initially, he didn't know it was a spaceship. He thought a car was tailgating him. Until that car hopped over his vehicle and in front of him and came to a stop, effectively stopping his car in the process. Woodrow, not really knowing what to expect, not really being into this type of topic at all, was just very confused, kind of waited to see what happens. And the craft opens up and steps out a man, a regular looking man. He's described as olive skin, dark hair. A lot of times people depict him as having this super creepy smile because of the scene here. I don't think he was intentionally trying to be weird. I think that he was trying to be comforting and welcoming. The man approaches Woodrow, goes up to his car, and he is speaking to him, but he's speaking to him telepathically. He asked Woodrow to roll down his window, which of course people have questioned that claim a lot. I don't know, I guess because that's what we do. It's comforting to us. And, just kind of quick rundown, tells them, hey, look, I'm not here to start drama. I'm just here to kind of observe. I've got some questions. Can you answer them for me? And so, Woodrow hops out of the car, and they start having a conversation, a very basic conversation about just like the city that they could see in the background and just kind of how society in general works. But this conversation isn't very long. It lasts about 10 minutes. The person then introduces himself to him as, I think he only told him Mr. Cold the first time. He didn't tell him his first name, which we now know as Indrid Cold. Tells him, go tell everybody about me. Go tell everybody that this happened, and I will come back and I'll validate that experience so they don't think you're nuts. So Woodrow does. He goes home and, then goes on to start telling people about it. Of course, initially he tells his wife. They hold a little press conference there locally. He talks to the police. He tells them what happened. And then just continues to talk about it. And Indrid only half kept his promise. He did come back on multiple occasions. Him and Woodrow ended up having a lifelong friendship in which Woodrow would go with Indrid to his planet of Lanulos, and it became pretty fantastic. And the story lives on to this day, hopefully, we think. So that's the quick version.
That's the quick version, and that's very, very excellent. Yeah. Now the area we're talking about is right along the Ohio-West Virginia border, and we're talking about this an old basically panel truck that got pulled over by what he described as the smokestack turned on its the chimney turned on its side type spaceship, which is it's interesting. And now the big thing with this is he never changes this story. He tells it dozens and dozens of times. And then he writes a book about it eventually. And even that's another kind of fun tale with it. And exciting things, right? So
I just want to say this dude handled running into a non-Earth life form way better than I think a lot of us would have.
I agree.
At this point, I don't care how close to a human they looked. If you knew that they weren't human and they land next to you in a spaceship, it takes a certain kind of person to have the wherewithal to not lose the proverbial shit over it.
Yeah, right. I agree. He was very calm, and like I said, this weird, scary depiction of Indrid that people now have is so bizarre to me because it just wasn't like that at all. It was a very friendly, nonchalant conversation. It was very easy. And Woodrow, he handled it like a champ. He just got out and talked to the guy. I don't know. He's got balls of steel.
No, totally. So what
and now the big thing was. Oh, sorry. I just want to say when he goes back to the ship to get back on his ship to take off, another hand comes out and helps him in. So that's why we knew there were multiple things in the ship. So there was more than just Mr. Cold.
Yeah.
So that was a little detail that popped out of that initial recording interview. So which becomes bigger later on. So
sure.
So Ashley, what got you involved in this topic?
Oh God, I didn't choose the weird life. The weird life chose me. I got into this because of Mothman, and I had my own set of weird circumstances when I went to the Mothman Festival in 2018. Jumped into the rabbit hole. Turns out I've seen Mothman. I didn't realize that's what it was at the time. Took a while for that to come out. Of course, you can't go down the Mothman rabbit hole without hitting Indrid Cold. And, me, just from day one, I've been a very boots on the ground, right in the shit investigator. I get right into it. And so, when I got a hold of the story of Indrid, of course, I wrote it off completely. It sounded nuts. But Tanya Derenberger was still alive. And, at that point in time on social media was like very actively posting about the fact that like she still talks to Indrid. And so I decided to get in contact with Tanya, and at first it was just kind of going to be, let me talk to her and see what she says. But I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought, you know what? Let me do one better. Let me befriend this woman, because if Indrid is real, if she's crazy, she's crazy. I'll know right off the bat, right? But if Indrid's real and I'm going to meet him, the only way I'm going to meet him is through Tanya. So I did. I worked on building that friendship, and what probably initially started as a very professional friendship, eventually genuinely Tanya was my friend. And we've had many, many talks about Indrid. I haven't met the guy yet being the key word. I'm still trying, so we'll see.
Yeah, so this would have been about the same. Now, I was talking to Tanya a couple years later, late 2019, early 2020, and we were trying to organize some things. And of course, the wonderful end of the world in 2020 caused a lot of things to go bad, but her health was always not in the best at that point. And she kept saying she was going to come on us. She was going to come on other shows. And I assumed she was talking about you. I even think she was talking about our good friends at Wild and Weird. There were the 3 shows that I guess her and Indrid listened to. And from what I heard, from her, because I was talking to her at the same time. I was trying to get interviews for my book, Eerie Appalachia, at the time. And she was just so sweet and so wonderful and so open about this. And she was so upset about Hellier and and how they had treated her and how they had just basically used her for their own agenda. And she's like, her and Indrid would sit and watch it and point out the errors they were making.
Well, they really made her. I mean, you've had a conversation with her. They made her look crazy. Just the way she talked and everything. I'm like, Tanya doesn't talk like that. I don't know if she was just not doing well medically or if that's just editing. But she didn't talk like that.
No,
she was just a regular person.
Yep.
Well, and I'll say this, and we've all seen it, Mark's been clipped on shows that make it sound like, he's like, I'm not telling you XYZ. And all they say is telling you XYZ, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or I'm cut out, not put in telling you XYZ. I mean, it's easy for them to do stuff like that because, the wonderful world of editing. And that's what's kind of dangerous too about entrusting people when it comes to shows and things like that, is you've got to hope, because you're not on the editing room floor, that they're not going to take something you say and break it out of context. And, I fear that for her. When you met her, because I mean, part of you was like, maybe this chick's crazy. Actually, I need to go back one thing. Sure. Why do you say that driving down the Mothman rabbit hole leads you to Indrid Cold? Why would you do that analogy?
Because 10 days after the initial Indrid Cold encounter was the famous Scarberry Mallet sighting that pretty much created Mothmania, right? We had the 2 couples down at the TNT area get chased by this flying, this winged humanoid. And they're within a pretty decent proximity to each other. I don't remember the actual path that Woody took, but I know that the meeting took place in Parkersburg, West Virginia. That Mothman sighting took place in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They're about 40 minutes away from each other. And then John Keel, he came down to investigate the Scarberry Mallet sighting. And when he did that, or he came down to investigate Indrid Cold. I don't remember which one was first, but he found out about the other one. So while Keel is down there doing his research on the Mothman stuff, or while he's doing it on just UFOs in general, that's what he did. It was all happening. Yeah. So there were cases that he took in at the same time. And he goes on to then write the Mothman prophecies, which adds a lot. Maybe there is some correlation between some things, but he just kind of lumps everything that was happening in the area together, which made it messy. And then
other random stuff there that he adds in. And it's like, he called it a window The
Yes.
area is a window to the unknown. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it really kind of muddied the waters a bit. And that's fine. He's allowed to have his opinion. Hey, Keel was there and I wasn't, at the end of the day. There's a lot of things I don't agree with the man, but, his information is valuable. Thank God we had somebody there investigating at the time. But, this then turns into the Mothman Prophecies movie, which there is no Mothman in it. There's only Indrid Cold, really. And it has a heavy, heavy focus around that character. You've got the crazy guy that's supposed to be Woodrow. And it just kind of really made a spectacle of the whole thing. Now, Richard Haddam's a great guy. He's a wonderful person, and he knows his stuff. And I get it. You have to take all this and turn it into a movie somehow. Yeah. But again, muddying the waters, people take that as fact and they run with it. So here we are.
No, it's very true. So you met her, you and Mark both met and talked to her, because you walk into this going, oh, this woman's probably batshit crazy, right? Because of whatever. But what convinced you that what she was saying was not crazy talk? Like, what made you go, wait, she actually encounters this, whatever this is, this preternatural creature, alien, whatever we want to call it, not earthbound thing. So
Visitor.
Sure.
Visitor. Thank you.
Sure. I don't know that I can say I'm 100% convinced. It's a lot. It's kind of a lot of things. So, it took me a minute too to meet Tanya, because we started talking during the pandemic and she was very ill. When we did finally meet up, I sat down, I talked to her, I heard her story. It didn't sound, it sounds outrageous, but when you interview people that claim to have experiences, you kind of do get a pretty good radar for who's genuinely crazy, who's making it up, and who probably has something to it. Tanya didn't really go off the charts with any of those things. She was just very matter of fact. This is what it is. And as time kind of went on with our friendship, she was able to answer pretty much every question that I had for her. And granted, one thing that I would ask her over and over again was, and I would ask her the same questions consistently about Indrid, silly stuff. When Indrid comes here, does he get fast food? What's his favorite fast food place? What's his favorite hamburger? Things like that, because you can't ask her that now, But anyway, one thing I asked her repeatedly was his age, and that wasn't consistent. She gave me a different age every single time. She's given a different age on social media every single time. But it's within the same range. She's somewhere from like 90 to 110, somewhere in there. He's middle-aged. We know that, I guess. So that was a red flag for me. And I'm like, I don't like this. But other things that were red flaggy, initially we thought that Tanya was a complete fraud, because when we did her family tree, there is no Woodrow Derenberger in her family tree. And then when you go and look at Woodrow's obituary, there is no Tanya listed as one of his surviving kids. His other kids are on there. She's not. So that was really odd. Well, we got to the bottom of that mystery. She was adopted. That was not her biological father. So it's not mental illness, right? It wasn't Woodrow Derenberger was a schizophrenic, and so therefore Tanya, his daughter also got those same genes. Now she's crazy. It wasn't that. Didn't mean it was factual. And then, but everything that we kind of had that we had an issue with, there was some explanation for it, some little explanation. It wasn't until Tanya, she was in the hospital for an extended period of time, and I hadn't heard anything from her. Now, she was always getting her phone shut off and getting a new phone and getting her phone stolen, and she was a hot mess sometimes. I'll admit that. And I hadn't heard from her in a while, so I posted on her Facebook page and said, "Hey, has anybody heard from Tanya? This woman, she had really bad MS. She couldn't even hold a pen anymore. It was really bad." And one of her children reached out to me and told me that, oh yeah, she's fine. She's in the hospital. I've never spoken to any of her kids at this point. Tanya had a really strained relationship with her kids, from her perspective. And now I know from the kids' perspective. But she reached out. She assured me that she was okay. And before she even knew who I was or anything, just starts ripping into her. Well, my mom's probably going to try to use this opportunity to get money. Don't give her any money. She's a con artist. I mean, is saying the worst things about this woman. Now, again, they have a strained relationship. That's fine. It is what it is. And then at the end of all that rant about telling me not to give her any money, and I'm thinking, here it is, right? She's going to tell me this is all fake. She goes, how do you know my mom? And I tell her, well, I'm here for the Indrid stuff. I'm a ufologist. I'm in Ohio. That's what I'm here for. And she just goes, oh, yeah, okay. Doesn't deny it. Doesn't say anything at all to the effect of, yeah, that's just part of the scam and you're getting scammed. And, so that really gave me a hard stop. And I'm like, maybe this is all real. After trying to convince myself over and over again that it's not. Fuck, maybe it is. I don't know. So then she died. Tanya died. Unfortunately, rest in peace. In May of, what was that? 2023, I think. 22. Yeah, 2023. And I kind of put it down. But Tanya and I talked about this. We knew she was gonna die. I mean, she was in bad shape.
And in and out of hospice.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Nice. It was no secret. And she wanted me to continue the story of Indrid. And I told her, I said, well, Tanya, I mean, there's nothing else to say if he won't talk to me. I can't, there's not much more I can do. And she's just like, I know, I'll talk to him. And she kept saying that, I'll talk to him. I talked to him, I talked to him about you. He thinks you're cool. He thinks you're interesting or whatever. And, nothing ever happened and she passes away. Well, so then weird things started happening. It started with TikTok. I kept getting, so I have a TikTok account. I don't use it. And I don't ever log on there. But it'll send me random notifications here and there. People will find me on there and they'll follow me and stuff. But I kept getting a notification that Tanya Derenberger was following me. It was Tanya Derenberger and so many other people following you over and over and over again. And it was strange. And I just thought, hey, algorithms, that's what they do. I got on there. I ruled out, the fact that it was maybe a fake account. It's not, it's her account. I can see where we became friends. I can see where she made it or, start following each other or whatever. It was her account. And it kept happening over and over and over. At one point I tried to send a message to the account, because this was weird. And I posted about it on social media and everybody said the same thing. It's probably a scammer. It's not. Probably somebody hacked her account and they're using it. They're not. It's not active. It was weird. So I tried to send a message to the accounts, and for the first over the course of 3 months, I did this. The first 2 months, I would get an error back, like a message didn't send, and it never did. And even eventually, it did send, and it went through, and I'm pretty sure the message was just Indrid ? Because I'd say hello, and nothing. I said Indrid ? It went through. And I haven't gotten those notifications ever since. So, it's strange enough for me to give some stock into it. I have kind of taken on this role. I'm trying to contact Indrid and other means. And that's essentially what my talk is about, is how I'm trying to use creative investigative tactics. I've used spirit boxes. I've made an Indrid Cold shrine, like an altar. I'm going to try CE5 when it gets warmer out. I'm trying all these ways to try to get into contact with this man, because as much as it doesn't make sense and as much as some of the answers and things didn't add up, I can't let it go. I can't. So here I am.
Well, I think you're in the same boat as my partner in crime here, Mr. Muncy, because, I think there's, when we talked about this previously on the podcast and he went over sort of this story and some of the stuff. I mean, there's stuff about this story that you're just like, huh? Where it leads you to go, why did he choose this family? And why is he still in contact with this family? Why hasn't he chosen somebody else at this point in time to be in contact? Like, there's a few things that make me go, huh, But at the same time, there's so many things that we don't know and don't understand about just the universe that you kind of go, okay, this could be a thing. And you just go, but why would he have interest in this crazy old lady, right? You would think, like, did she ever explain to you why he was still visiting?
Well, just because, because to her, this is Uncle Indrid,
Yeah,
this is a
family
family
friend.
member, so, he's been in her life since she was 4 years old. So why was he still visiting? I suppose because he also felt that same, kinship with him. There's some speculation as to whether Indrid has contact with other humans, which is, of course, something that I bring up with Tanya, because once I really started getting into it and, people kind of found out I was serious about researching that topic in particular, I've gotten other people that claim that, they've had Indrid Cold encounters. Most of it is just the grinning man, which, again, I think it's something totally different. But I have had other people, claim that, like, one person I know said that Indrid visited them in their room one night as a child, touched the small of their back, and now they can talk to dead people, gave him the power of mediumship. And when I talked to Tanya about that, she says, well, I don't know. Just the same as, like, she doesn't know who I know, you know what I mean? She doesn't know who my friends and family and stuff are, which is logical. But through the Woodrow Derenberger story itself, and also in conjunction with Tanya, it's not like Indrid really was hidden from the public. I mean, he attended Woodrow's funeral. People saw him out and about, driving his little black Beetle, or whatever classic car, Men in Black-esque
Yep.
car that he had. People claimed to see some strange man in this small town that didn't seem to fit with everybody else, and wondered, is that him? The psychologist who ended up evaluating Woodrow said that Indrid talked to him telekinetically. So, I mean, it's so bizarre because you got all these people that are vouching for him, and I don't know. So I don't know. Again, I went off the rails answering your question, but it blows.
No, it's 100%. That's the way when we talked, she was just 100%. Matter of fact, hey, I saw him last week. We were watching this show. He came over to watch this show with me, and all this, and she's like, I'm so mad I can't see him because now I'm in this hospice care and I have limited contact with the outside and all that. He can't come in because he's not family, blah blah. She was only able to talk to me on the phone, and at that point, and she was upset because she didn't have her laptop, and so she couldn't do any of the things she wanted to do and all this. And she's so sweet and so kind, but she was talking about not only Indrid but Indrid's kids.
Yeah.
Which and his family that were around, and that was like, I had never heard that. I hadn't read Woody's book before then, and then so I was like, oh, I've got to read this book suddenly, and I dove into it. It's been sitting on my shelf, and I was like, all right, time to dive in. And then suddenly I find out what Indrid had a son. It was the second in command, and then all this other stuff, and then we learn about Woody's trips to Lanulus, which are, well, something interesting to say the least, some interesting reading.
Yeah.
And for those, the people who debunk go, well, Saturn isn't hollow, and the moon doesn't have a parking garage on the other side, and all this other stuff. But now the more we learn about parallel universes and other things like that, it suddenly all starts going, oh, well, maybe it does here. Maybe it does this. And instead of other planets, other dimensions, and they just, look similar. And that's how Woody interpreted it. But it's interesting stuff. And it is one of those, like you said, it's a rabbit hole. You will go down and never come back up for air if you're not careful.
Well, and there's Earthlings that move from Earth to Lanulos that decided to
live there.
stay.
There's a couple. There's a nice couple that live there, and
it's a very wild story. But at the end of the day, we also don't know. I mean, of course, people question like the unified religion. They believe in God, and that seems very, per that time, right? It seems very counterintuitive, and I get it. But we don't even know if this guy's name's really Indrid Cold. Like,
Right.
he could literally create whatever world he wanted to. I mean, first of all, he's traversing space and time to get to Earth. We don't even know if they really look like humans. We really have no idea. So if he could be doing all this to manipulate Woodrow Danberger to make him comfortable for whatever reason, whatever those motives are, to, kind of curate that friendship. I don't know if we were an experiment to them. Who knows? I mean, we don't have the capability of knowing. I don't know. It does sound crazy, though. I get it. I completely understand. I don't fault anybody at all for being skeptical.
No, exactly. We have to take a quick break. So we're going to do that, hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. And we're back. So, it's
it's hard to describe, right? It's one of those. This is one of those when you bring up Mothman, people go, okay, that's, you bring up Bigfoot, everybody's like, oh yeah, my cousin saw it, somebody saw it, my second, third brother's roommate saw it, whatever. Yeah, and it has some believability. Even the Loch Ness Monster gets that a little bit because it's been seen hundreds of years and all this. And then Mothman, people start going, that's a little weird, but so many people talk about it, so many people have seen it. You bring up Indrid, and people go, oh, chapstick. The grinning man. And you're like, no. Okay, that's been conflated. It's been adapted, and now he's the Joker suddenly with this giant smile. All Indrid said was he smiled a lot, like an unusual grin. That's all he said, unusual grin. And then when I talked to Tanya about him, she's like, he looks just like anybody else. He always smiles because he's always contemplating. She's like, so he always had a contemplative look, like he was always smiling to himself. And it's like, okay, there's the grinning man. And but one of the things she mentioned to me was that he liked to put the wrong emphasis on syllables when he talked sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing she noticed. She thought he had some weird accent when she first would really start talking to him. And that was something Woody had mentioned as well. And I like to say, the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah.
It would, and that would make some things strange and stuff. And of course, that kind of conflates him with Men in Black.
Yeah.
A little bit, because that's what they talk like and sound like and appear like and all that. And so that's why he gets meshed in with that as well. He overlaps so many things.
Yeah. But then claims he has nothing to do with any of that. So
right.
At least that's what, I've asked Tanya. Of course, people want to know, is he involved with the Mothman? Are they? No, he says no, they're not. Men in Black, nope, doesn't know anything about him. It's like,
okay, so let me go to that point. We talk about Men in Black, and there's a whole okay, are they government agents? Are they something else, right? Because of how people perceive them. We've talked a little bit about them because there appears to be some legitimacy to interactions people have had with whatever that is, the Men in Black, because there's a consistent theme throughout, right? And I kind of get that. And then I go, okay, well, you don't know what the Men in Black are. If you're visiting here all the time, to me, there's a degree of knowledge that you would acquire. Not only that, there was a point in time you couldn't fly your chimney or lantern ship around because people would be like, what the hell is that? Even in the 1960s, how do you fly this ship and it not be perceived by anybody?
Not be shot down, like from the whole, Kehoe shoot them down thing from 10 years prior. But all right, so I do have my story, and I'm going to tell you this one, Ashley. And then when I talked to Tanya about it again, I got a little different response. So we're going to go. So Indrid was 66 initially. I was writing a Florida book on UFOs, and in April of 67, so just a little while after, there was a huge encounter in called the Crestview School in Miami. It's in South Florida, or just in Miami area. And young boy is out in the playground on recess, and he sees what looks like some sort of saucer shape up in the sky. And they all the kids are being called in. He's like staring at it. So the teacher comes over. Is like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Come in." He's like, "No, look, there's something up there." And so the teacher sees it too. And they're like, "What's that?" And then it disappears, quickly out of view. And they go in, not a big deal. But the next day, everybody's, "What did you see? What did you see?" Because of course, kids, it's telegraph, it's everybody.
Sure.
Well, the next day it comes back and it brings friends, and the entire school sees it. It's kids, teachers, everybody. And there's no keeping kids in class because they're all looking out the windows. And this thing comes close. I mean, like right across the parking lot from the school. It's a saucer shape with a turret. It's got little tiny craft with it that are circling it, doing all the usual UFO encounter stuff. And now we would describe the littler craft as the Tic Tac or the Tic Tac craft from the Navy disclosures and stuff like that. It was very close to that. And then they kind of warp into some trees, and you'd think they'd be crashing into the trees, but they kind of portal out of here, disappear. And it's like, ooh, okay, now we've got the extra dimensional stuff, and that's why they can blink out of existence and all that. But then it comes back for a little bit, and then without the little ones, and then it disappears again and shoots up into the sky. Classic. The military show up and start interviewing everybody at the school. And the next day, the newspapers say, because one of the kids said, well, they shot up like a helicopter. So the next day, newspaper headlines, terrified children see helicopters. And it disappears. It does not become the new Roswell. It just kind of forgotten. 1967, some kids saw some helicopters outside of school, except for a few diehard researchers. So we cut to 2019. We have the first of the leaked footage. We start having the congressional hearings, and I'd already written a couple Florida books. So I start getting letters from nice people who were original witnesses, who are now somewhat aged. And they were like, "Hey, I saw that when I was a kid." Nice. And everybody said we were crazy, but look, I just saw it on TV last night, and I'm not crazy. And I'm interviewing. And finally one gentleman who still has to remain anonymous because he's in political office down there and doesn't want to come out of the UFO closet here. But he's like, I was one of the ones asked questions by the government people. They came to my house to ask me questions after, the night after. And my dad kept the names of everybody who visited in our little address book. And I'm like, ooh, if I can get those names, I can Freedom of Information Act, find out who these guys are. And I get down there and we're talking. He's describing the incident, and he pulls out the address book, and it's literally an address book. It's got Aunt Jenny's phone number, and it's got a recipe written down on you can tell they just kept it by the phone, and they're just writing down random notes and stuff. And then there's the day, and there's Lieutenant Sinclair, Coast Guard. I'm like, all right, that's a little unique, so I might be able to find something. I have not been able to find anything on him. But a Lieutenant Smith or Captain Smith from the Army Air Corps, which is, I'm sure that's a generic name, but there were a lot of Smiths in that area in Miami. But then the third one just said Government Man Cold.
Oh.
Yeah. See, that was, and I was like, do you remember this man? Do you know, can you recall him? And he's like, yeah, he just had a nice shiny suit and just kept, he didn't say much. He just kind of smiled and stared at me. And I'm like,
his shiny suits, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly what my head is going crazy at the time. And I'm like, and then I had to explain to him who Indrid was. And,
sure.
And he's like, wow, that's something. I'm like, save this book, whatever you do, save this book. Cause it could be something. So now flash forward 6 months later. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Tanya and I mentioned that. incident. And I said, I know you've said Indrid was not a Men in Black. I know you've said Indrid did not work with the government, but here I have this. And Tanya said, I will talk to him about it. And then because he's never said anything about that. And then the next time I talked to her a couple days later, all she said was, Indrid said he can't talk about that.
Yeah.
Which never said Indrid can't talk about things very much, except a couple personal details, like where his children were, or anything like that. Indrid can't talk about it. Indrid can't talk about it. And that's my Indrid story for you.
Well, that first sighting with Woody, one of the people that came down to interview him immediately was somebody from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, who had just got. I mean, they do all that, Project Blue Book, and that's their thing, which was kind of strange because Woody didn't call them. Nobody really knows exactly why they showed up. Somebody had to have told them, but they did. They came and they told him. They said, "Look, we believe you. We just want to know what you experienced." And then Woody gave him the story, just like he had been doing. But then nothing ever since then. So it is odd. I mean, again, we don't even know if Indrid Cold is his real name.
Right. It could be a code name. It could be.
Yeah,
anything. So.
It could be. A lot of people are like, "What did you say? Did you say Indrid Cold?" I'm like, "No."
Ingrid?
Yeah,
Ingrid? So many people say, "Are you talking about Ingrid Cold?" I'm like, "No, Indrid."
Indrid Cold, and it's like Santa brings. No. It's that is really fascinating. I mean, and of course we've got other people. Alan Greenfield, has got plenty to say about Indrid Cold. That's a whole another rabbit hole if you want to. And he's still alive, so go talk to him while you can. He's definitely got his stories. Of course, you got the Hellier people. Think there's some connection between what they do and Indrid. Who knows if there is or isn't. Indrid could be doing his own thing. Now, Tanya did say that he died and then he was resurrected. During that time that he was dead, he was actually hanging out with some woman in the mountains that we don't know anything about. That's
something about playing dead because of he was worried about being he was worried about a
on Earth
or something. It was very bizarre, but again, everything with this is bizarre. So
does it ever occur to you guys when you're hearing this story? So we were talking on an earlier episode, we talked many times about like people assume ghosts are telling the truth when they answer questions, as if ghosts won't lie. Like, are you Ashley Hilt? Yep, that's me. Yep, like nailed it.
Right.
What if this is somebody from another planet, but they're batshit crazy?
I like to think that maybe they're pulling the old Douglas Adams thing, where what was it? Fort Prefect used to talk about he got a ride into Earth with a teaser, and somebody said, "What's a teaser?" He's like, "Oh, there's some rich kid from another galaxy who likes to buzz low technology worlds, and they go around and they get out of their ship and make beep beep noises to weird yokels that nobody will ever believe, and it's just a way of having fun." So maybe there's a little bit of that in all this, but
I mean, even if he were to come and hold a press conference and say, "Yes, I'm Indrid Cold, and I'm from Lanulos," and we still don't have a way to verify it. We can't fact check him, we're not going to go to Lanulos and be like, "Oh, let's, prove it, buddy." I mean, I don't know. I might, but given the opportunity, but that could very well be the case. I have a little bit of a different theory. And I definitely go more into it. I'm working on a book right now, about, not just Indrid, but just my experience investigating Indrid Cold and befriending Tanya. And so my theory right now, and this can change, is that Woodrow Derenberger did have a friendship with some guy from outer space. Tanya did meet that guy from outer space. They did have family get-togethers and things like that happens. But ultimately, the notoriety that came with being the guy with the alien friends and Woodrow's terrible behavior, with leave. I mean, because he left for months at a time. He would leave the family and say he's on Lanulos, and everything that entailed with that. It ruined her family. It broke the family up. And Tanya, this was already like her second chance dad. This wasn't her biological father. This was her adopted dad. And, we know that the brain develops in a very special way at a very early age. And I think this all really messed with her. And I think that once her mom moved them all away, up to Cleveland, away from Woody, that was the last she had talked to Indrid. I don't think she continued to have a relationship with Indrid after that. I think this was some type of trauma coping mechanism. And, I think that, maybe she thought if she talked about it enough, maybe Indrid would come back and have some type of explanation. But it was kind of her way to create her own father figure in her mind and continue to, live that relationship. And Woodrow died relatively young, really. And so, that she didn't really have a chance. And I think that's tragic. I think that's a very sad story. But I mean, I think that it's also a good explanation for this being both real and not real. I think it's both. And that's why we have crazy stories like, hey, he died and now he's not dead anymore. Sorry, my cat is bothering me.
It's okay. We just thought Indrid was making contact. So
finally, yes, he's here.
Finally, he's coming in. He's going to talk to us.
So
no, I mean, the problem is when we're doing this sort of investigation, you're starting to research this stuff, and you start asking questions to people, and you're doing all these things. Odd stuff happens that you cannot explain away easily. Erika, earlier was joking about our guy X, who sends us strange emails. We're like, he has sent us emails about things that only us know about. We had a private conversation ways away from everybody, but yet there was an email describing it. And all this.
Most recently, he knew about a trip I went on that I hadn't shared with anybody but my very, very close friends. And he sent an email while I was in the middle of that trip saying, hope that she's having a good time doing X.
Yeah, wow. It was interesting. So, and that's, you explain that to people are like, oh, it's, you're doing it, or somebody in your group's doing it, or somebody she's talked to is doing it. It's like the few suspects we had, no way they're doing it. So, because they wouldn't know all of this.
That's probably Indrid. I mean,
that was our thought immediately. It was like, yeah, maybe we'll get an email from X saying, yeah, I am Indrid. No,
but he's already said he wasn't. He actually
he did. Yeah, he did say he wasn't.
He's not one of the Men in Black. He's not one of the numbered guys. That's what he said. And very few people know that the Men in Black are numbered, 1 through 9. And he said he's not one of those. And he refers to his brothers a lot. So it's because me and Mark talk about stuff that gets their attention, and then we stop talking about stuff like it's interesting, but there's enough weirdness and enough occurrences of stuff that there is literally no way to, at first Mark thought they knew the person, right?
I thought it was a friend of mine who was messing with the new show. It was a new show. Let's have fun with Mark. I'll make this account. And in fact, we have a couple shows that do have they have a bot account that they run themselves to troll themselves with, and it's fun, it's entertaining. And having been on TV shows, I get you need entertainment, but it's this one has gotten scary a couple times. So
interesting. Yeah. Well, X, I'd like to meet you.
There you go. X, there's another invitation.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I
don't know that meeting him or him, he refers to himself more as a him, end results in anything good. So, I mean, you can throw it out there, but yeah.
And X, if you are having poker games with Indrid, just let us know who wins, or something. So,
yeah.
I'd like to know if you're all psychic and you're all playing cards. How do you bluff?
So, actually, I got to ask you on your outside of Indrid Cold, what is your personal UFO alien type experiences?
Oh God, I got a bunch. Well, I mean, I guess that depends on what you what you consider UFO alien experiences. Um, kind of it all runs together. I'm a Fortean, right? So that means I investigate all of it and think that a lot of it is somehow interconnected. But I'm also a skeptic, so I can use critical thinking and deduce, right, scientifically some prosaic explanations for things. Um, like I said, I believe that I saw the Mothman in 2016. I was at a friend's house one night. My Mothman story did not take place outside; it took place inside. I was at a friend's house one night. We were eating pot brownies. That's what we were doing. And I was sleeping over at her house. And this was just a regular Saturday, something we did all the time. And when it was time to go to bed, I was laying on her couch, waiting to fall asleep. And I started freaking out. I don't know. I felt very overwhelmed. I was not happy at that time. A lot of anxiety. And I just figured, man, super high. That's what's going on. When you're super high, one thing that I do is, kind of pick up somewhere in the room to like look at and focus and like tell yourself I'm okay. It's kind of grounding. The spot that I happened to pick she had this big TV cabinet in the corner of the room. So I picked the TV cabinet. I looked above it and picked the space like between the top of the cabinet and the ceiling. And while I'm sitting there staring at that spot, something starts forming in the middle of the room. First it was like a black misty shape. It was like a head. And then the head is like coming down to the shoulders. And then the shoulders and the arms, I thought they were arms, are kind of outstretching over the whole ceiling. And they're kind of taking over the whole room. And, but then they start growing downwards. And I realized, oh, those aren't arms, those are wings. At that time, I got up, I left the room. I went and I woke my friend up. I was like, look, you got to get up. I'm like super high. I'm freaking out. She's like, ha, 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 ha. And then we're awake. I didn't tell her what I had seen. The person that I was at that time, didn't believe in anything, like this at all. Just not even close. I mean, we talk about it and stuff and speculate, but I didn't believe any of it. And, at that point in my life, we had, I've gone with friends. We've done ghost hunting and we've seen weird things, I guess. But, I was always just like, nah, that's something else. There's some explanation. And I just kind of wrote that off as, whatever. So in 2021, I'm in full throes of Mothman investigation. I'm collecting eyewitness accounts, and some girl approaches me and shares her story with me. And she says that her and her boyfriend are staying at a hotel in Atlanta. And they saw this thing. First, they saw it, they were up on the third floor and it was peeking into their hotel room window. And then when they went to go run to the window to go see what it was, it flew off. She said, I just want to be honest with you. We did take some THC gummies. She sent me a picture of them. She said, but this is not that. And like a light bulb, it went off in my head. Oh my God, I saw that. That's what I saw at my friend's house. And had never considered it at that point. And I know people all the time. How do you know it wasn't a shadow person? How do you know it wasn't a demon? How do you know it wasn't this? How do you know it was Mothman? Did it have red eyes? Don't remember red eyes. How do I know? I can't really explain that to you except for I know. And when I look back at my life and all the research I've done and all these Mothman witnesses, again, I befriend my witnesses. Tanya taught me that. You should befriend your eyewitnesses. Like, you really should. And what I know about the trajectory of their life and what had happened at that time of my life and how my life had changed going forward, I know that's what it was. I do. Mothman's not a harbinger of doom. It's a harbinger of change. And unless you experience something like that, you don't get it. Which I wish I could like bottle that feeling up and sell it. I'd make millions. But it is really wild. Some people consider that ufological. I don't know. I don't know what it is, right? I can't say Mothman's an alien. I have no idea, but I suppose that depends on where your bar's set for aliens. And then of course I've seen a handful of UFOs. I've got videos of them. I tell people all the time, all you gotta do is look up. People insist they do, and they don't see anything. I'm like, there's no way. I see them all the time. but I live in Dayton, Ohio, by Wright
You're
Patterson.
right outside Wright Pat, which has all kinds of unusual craft. I grew up in Carlisle,
Yeah.
And I know my backyard. I was out there every night watching weird stuff.
Weird stuff. So
no, it's funny you mentioned Fortean. That's for those who don't know. That's because of Charles Fort, who coined the phrase paranormal early days and paranormal investigator and stuff like that. Him and Hans Holzer and Nando Fodor, they were the pioneers. And Fortean is we were 40 in February last year. And now we're Freaky February this year.
Oh. I like both of those things. That's great.
Pick up Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. Probably one of the best. That's a great starting point for early investigations and stuff.
It is. You really got to know Charles Fort. I don't tell you. That's good stuff right there.
And the Fortean Times is still being printed. A magazine that researches all this every month.
Yeah.
So Ashley, when is your book coming out, do you think? Like, when is your goal to have that book on Indrid Cold out?
So I have to have it out by the first weekend of March. I am the MC at the Frogman Festival this year. I'm the MC every year at Frogman Festival in Loveland, Ohio. Or I'm sorry, it's in Mason. Is it in Mason?
It's right next to Loveland.
It's right next to it. Yeah, I know it's 40 minutes for me. That's what matters. Anyway,
5 hours from us. We hopefully will be there. We're supposed to be. So.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it's So I gave myself that deadline. I'm giving my talk about Indrid Cold again. When I have my speaking portion, I will have Indrid Cold books on the table at the event. So it is time for me to do that.
I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to hear if you end up meeting whoever has portrayed themselves as Indrid Cold.
Me too. And I've had a lot of, my old co-host, he used to joke about it. He's like, one time at one of these events, one of these weirdos is just they're gonna pretend to be Indrid, and you're gonna fall for it, and you're gonna get date raped. And I'm like, oh, I hope not. Jeez.
Wow, that escalated really quickly.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's Indrid's.
That's not his no. Yeah.
No, but so Ashley, shameless self-promotion time. Can you share with us how people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook, Ashley Hilt. I'm the one with the red hair. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Threads at It's Ashers with a Z. If you don't want to follow me personally on social media, that's okay. You can always listen to my show on Wednesdays. We Talk Weird. I'm sure there's something in there for everybody. So check that out.
Well, Ashley, it was so wonderful to see you again. It was wonderful having you on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll probably come back. I love talking about this stuff. It's kind of what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that would be fantastic. And I want to hear how this story continues to evolve. So I think that would be badass. But I'm going to thank our patrons and all of our traveler supporters. We really appreciate all that time you spend in the support of our show. And Mark, so I've thanked them because you keep thanking them after I thank them. But
I know.
You're in a habit. Can you take us away from this epic show we just had?
Yeah, no, thank you again, Ashley, for coming on. And thank you, listeners and travelers, for joining us as always. I didn't say the other thing, but please, as always, tell your friends, bring us on. And Ashley, we hope to join you on Wednesdays We Talk Weird someday. We'd love to come on and chat whatever subject you want to talk about. And with that said, I'm just going to say, when you are driving along those lonely roads along the West Virginia-Ohio border, you're heading up towards Parkersburg, and if you see a chimney smoke stack flying in front of you and it pulls you over to the side of the road, make sure you get your cell phone out and try to record some video, so that way we've got what he really looks like. And if the Joker does come out, just smile and wave. But if a nice man comes up to you and says, "Hi, I'm a traveler and I'd like to talk to you," just know you're in good company, and keep us informed and document. We'll see you on the other side.